Good afternoon and welcome to the state of the Nigerian housing market. We are happy to bring you this live from the studios of AIT. I'll start by introducing our panelists on this live event. And we're very happy that we have been able to put together a team of panelists who are going to help us in looking at the housing outlook in Nigeria today. I'll start by introducing our head of service, Mrs. Winifred Oyo Ita. And then the managing director of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, Architect Dangiwa. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, sir.
Also to my immediate right is the director of Other Financial Institution and Supervision Department of the Central Bank of Nigeria, responsible for mortgage finance and housing finance, Mrs. Martins. And to my far right is Professor Charles Yangiti, the managing director and CEO of the Nigerian Mortgage Refinancing Company. Thank you very much for being on this show.
Thank you.
This year has started on a high note. Unlike the downturn that trade 2017, when the country got into a recession in the second quarter of 2016. With the excitement of 2018, there's been some level of investors' confidence in the market. Earlier this year, the NSE recorded a market high for over a 9-year period. Interestingly, 2018 is a pre-election year. Will all of these indices help the low-income earner in owning their own homes? With energy prices peaking at about $70 in late January, there seems to be a lot of inflow and there's a bolstering in the reserves. How will this benefit the common man on the street? This and other macroeconomic indices is what we're going to be looking at in this episode of the state of the Nigerian housing market. Now, I would like to start from Architect Dangiwa. With all of the expectations in the market, what has FMBN in terms of getting to the low and middle income? What are the plans? What should the average Nigerian look forward to in terms of owning a home in 2018?
Well, thank you very much. Most importantly is you are talking of Federal Mortgage Bank that was established by an act to provide mortgage finance to the primary mortgage institutions in order to transmit to the low-income earners, low and medium-income earners within the society. Since the establishment, it has done a lot in providing this housing ownership for the low and medium-income earners. Our main task on 2018 will be towards having a financial inclusiveness of the low and medium-income earners in their own houses. In as much as low and medium-income earners can afford a home, then that factor of affordability matters. We must provide housing that is affordable and accessible to the low and medium-income earners who constitute the majority, over 85% of the Nigerian population. So our task is to identify certain factors. We have been collaborating with the Nigerian Labour Congress, with the TUC, with the NECA, to collaborate and come up with a housing model that is cost-effective, that is affordable to the low and medium income earners, we have come up with a design that is much more cheaper in terms of affordability for the low and medium earners for it to do. Our intention is to have a pilot scheme whereby we are picking at least 2 states in each geopolitical zone of the Federation within this year to commence this 100 housing units in each of the political zones, 2 in each political zones, for the housing units that can be affordable. We have commenced that. We have developed the design, the bills of quantities are ready, and it's a matter of getting the sites, getting the plot of land from the state governments. We intend to reach out to the state governments in order to have a land. With the getting of land from the state government, it will reduce the cost of the houses so as to be much more affordable. In some states, we are even going to collaborate with the state governments to see if they can put the bill of even the infrastructure in order for them to achieve that. You'll find that a level 9 officer who's earning level 9 not more than 60,000 naira per annum.
Interesting.
He doesn't have, he not more than 60,000 naira per annum. For him to repay the loan, he has to amortize 30% of his earnings, which is 20,000 naira. 20,000 in a year, that's 12 months, you'll have only 240. In 10 years, it's 2.4. In 30 years of his service, you'll find that he can't afford more than a 7 million naira house. And
this is even without interest. The interest rate at the time.
Yes. So we must strive to see that low and medium income earners access this loan. That's why the creation of FMBN led to the creation of NHF, to which there is a contributory scheme, to which a pool is created, to which all contributors should key into that, contribute their money into that fund for other people to access these mortgage loans.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you on the National Housing Fund, because I know that that's something that's very topical among Nigerians, and Nigerians want to know how exactly they'll be able to access the National Housing Fund. Still, in terms of affordability, I'm very happy that the head of service is here with us, because there's been a lot of work going on the Federal Integrated Staff Housing Program. Now, in 2018, again, I would put this to the foundation of what the market is looking at, what the macroeconomics is looking like in the market, because that is what, again, is a fundamental that helps whatever happens in the market. So with the FISH program, we would like to know where we are now with the FISH program. What are the hope of the civil servant? Just like Dangiwa has mentioned, affordability becomes an issue. So we would like to hear in terms of where you think the market would be in this year, in terms of people owning their own homes.
Okay, thank you very much. I was first of all start by giving a quick recap on the FISH program. The Federal Integrated Staff Housing Program originated in the Office of Head of Civil Service of the Federation in December 2015. And it was developed as a welfare program for civil servants, whereby civil servants can access affordable homes in view of the extremely high cost of home ownership. And the idea of the FISH program was that the various government agencies, MDAs, that are involved in financing housing construction, infrastructure services, and so on, would come together and provide an environment whereby the cost of houses, the final cost of houses would be much more reduced, because the developers would now not have to be bearing the cost of infrastructural access, roads, water, and so on to the various estates. And this, had gone on quite well. We had a lot of interest from various developers, and of course, with the support of the Federal Mortgage Bank and the Federal Government Staff Housing Loans Board, we were able to source for loans at a single digit to the civil servants. Federal Government Staff Housing Loans Board giving 3%, and the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria giving 6% single-digit mortgage loans. Already we have up to about 50,000 civil servants that have registered their interest in our data bank.
Okay.
And we have about 600 houses available from various developers. Now, these houses are in the categories of 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom houses. What we've been doing with the FHA and the Federal Mortgage Bank is to work out the affordability index for the civil servants, because we do not want civil servants to take up houses that in servicing the loans they would become financially distressed or embarrassed. So the affordability index, civil servants are made to stay within the affordability index. There are cases, of course, where civil servants would want to bring in some equity partnership if they want an equity contribution, that if they want to go higher than within their affordability index. Now, what we see happening in the year 2018 is that we have, over the last 2 years, gone through some teething problems and challenges, as to be expected with any new program. But now we know exactly where we stand and where we are headed in terms of our fish program. And working closely with the Federal Ministry of Finance Family Homes Fund, we are part of the off-takers subcommittee, the Office of the Head of Service of the Federation. We are part of the off-takers subcommittee, and through this, we know that we are going to be able to access more funds for civil servants on the fish program. So in 2018, I see a lot of positive indicators. The developers have shown a lot more interest going so far, and we have been having several proposals which we are screening for practicality purposes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I mean, again, we'll come to that point so that our viewers can understand, especially how this fish program work. Again, there are a lot of conversations around the fish program, and I'm very happy that you have a subscriber base of about 50,000. I think that's some sort of secured opportunity for investors to look at. I think at this point, we're going to take a station break. We'll be right back, and we want to take some messages from our sponsors. Thank you. Keep your channel on. Thank you.
There's a lovely place on my mind. I can't stop thinking about it. It's more than just a house. It's affordable luxury. It's a dream home. I'm not searching no more. I found the one for me, yeah. And it is pure luxury. It is pure luxury. From the one real estate people I can trust. From 1,000 miles, yeah. My brother, see, you love to call it home too. And I just wanna leave, yeah, with peace of mind and Haven Homes. I just wanna leave, yeah, Haven Homes.
Consumers' taste evolve and influence new lifestyle trends. There was the need for us to evolve to serve you better. Oil, finish in style.
Welcome back. We've heard from Architect Dangiwa, Managing Director, Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, and the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, Mrs. Winifred Oyoita. Now, looking at all of this, there is hardly any transaction that can happen in the market without some form of regulation. And we're happy to have with us the director who's responsible for mortgage and housing finance and the CBN. Madam, I would like to find out what the central bank is what program the central bank is currently organizing and what plans they have before the end of this year, again, to key into the low and middle income earners. Because this is the focus. You have, if you took the pyramid of the needs of the housing market and you dimension it, what you would find is that about 40% are at the base of the pyramid. Well, if housing were maybe 1,000 naira, they may not even be able to afford it. So in terms of regulation, what is the central bank, what kind of programs does the central bank have in place to incentivize both the players on the supply side and those on the demand side?
Okay, thank you very much. The Central Bank of Nigeria's role, I would say, is actually twofold. Like you said, we're regulators, we're supervisors. So we regulate all the mortgage banks that are responsible for originating mortgages and ensuring that these people at the bottom of the pyramid that you said that are of great concern to get mortgages actually get the mortgages. We also supervise and regulate the Federal Mortgage Bank and the NMRC. So that's as far as our regulation and supervision goes. We make sure that they comply by the rules and they intermediate the space where they're supposed to intermediate. But the Central Bank of Nigeria is also responsible for implementing the Nigeria Housing Finance Program. And that's a major program that's going to go a long way to meeting the aspirations of this country in ensuring that the low and the medium income people get mortgages. Now, what this Nigerian Housing Finance Program is all about is to enable or facilitate an environment whereby long-term finance would be available and cheaper. So we would say more accessibility and more affordability to mortgages such that the mortgages become so widespread and all the way down the income ladder. The Nigerian Housing Finance Program is actually in 4 components. It's supported by the World Bank. The federal government of Nigeria has a loan of $300 million from the World Bank, and the Central Bank of Nigeria is the implementing agency. Now, the first component of this program is actually the NMRC. Okay. So $250 million has gone or will go to the NMRC, and the NMRC was set up as a secondary mortgage institution. Sure, yeah. So what they are supposed to do is to refinance the mortgages of the primary mortgage banks and the commercial banks that are also involved in mortgages. So the NMRC is supposed to go to the capital market and raise bonds. And indeed, they've actually done so. They've raised 8 billion as we speak. These bonds are guaranteed by they have a sovereign guarantee, and that actually makes them able to raise bonds at a very competitive rate, just slightly higher than sovereign rates. And with the money that they raise, they're able to refinance the banks, and the banks are able to go and issue new mortgages, and the cycle continues until it's very widespread, and everybody that's eligible is able to get one. And then, of course, there's also the fact that we know that not everybody will be eligible for a mortgage, or probably not everybody will be able to afford a mortgage. So the second component is what is called the mortgage guarantee and insurance component. And $25 billion out of the $300 million is allocated to that. And that basically is to guarantee people, the medium and the low-income people that probably can't afford a down payment. So they can't afford the down payment, but the mortgage guarantee agent steps in and guarantees that aspect of the loan. And that would actually encourage the mortgage banks or the commercial banks to go ahead and give them a mortgage. And then further still, there's another component called the housing microfinance component. And has $15 million assigned to that. And those are funds for on-lending. It will be given to microfinance banks, and the microfinance banks, as you know, intermediate in the space of the low and the medium income people. So probably people that have irregular incomes or variable incomes, or not the conventional sort of salaries that maybe Federal Mortgage Bank and some other institutions are used to,
Okay.
they can still build their homes on an incremental basis.
Okay.
And then the last component is for technical assistance.
Okay. Thank you very much. I mean, it seems that there's a lot of activity going on at the Central Bank of Nigeria. And I'll raise to you now, Prof. Now, with all of the money that has been placed at NMRC, we hear $250 billion. It would be nice to hear what the intervention has been since NMRC, so that again, we want to make sure that at the bottom of the pyramid, these guys are able to get some roof over their head.
Thank you.
Prof. Yeah.
Let me just reiterate the point that's been made about NMRC. We're a secondary mortgage market institution, and so we're not able to actually issue mortgages. We refinance mortgages that exist.
Okay.
But we recognize that to do so, we need to look beyond our core mandate, which is to refinance, and see what the ground field is like. And so we've adopted what we call the value chain approach to doing business. And so we're interested in what happens right from the beginning point, which is aspects of land and title, to construction finance, and to mortgage origination and servicing, and of course to refinancing. Why is this important? If we do not have affordable housing stock, we cannot have affordable mortgages. So it's central to have affordable mortgages resulting from affordable housing. So part of the real challenges today is to have construction of houses that are affordable. Let me sort of paint a picture of where we are.
Okay.
We need something in the region of 800,000 houses to be built this year to address our housing needs. That would cost, if you look at say 5 million per house, it would cost about 4 trillion naira. That's half of our national budget this year. So when you add the infrastructure, another 1 trillion, you're looking at 5 trillion. That's about 62.5% of our national budget for this year.
Sure.
So that's a big challenge. It's a challenge that we cannot overlook. And so part of what we're doing as NMRC this year, if I can just focus on this year, because that's where you've asked us to focus. This year we're just in the process of going to the market. We've made our submissions to the SEC for a 10 billion bond issuance, and we'll use the proceeds of that bond issue for refinancing. The rate will be determined by the market, which is all that we can do. What matters now is how do we meet the expectations of the market? I see 4 important T's when going to the market to access capital, which is long-term, which is what we do. We need to first satisfy the requirement of a title, because when we go with a title for the properties that support the bond that we're issuing. So title is fundamental to the issuance of our bond and to the affordability of a house. You know, the cheaper, the easier it is to get title, the easier and cheaper it would be. So affordability is partly driven by title. We know that it costs something in the region of 34.5% to meet all the requirements for title. We know it costs another 8 or so % to meet the requirements of charges from the banks, etc. So you're looking at something in the region, and then of course add on your 20% deposit. So you're needing 54% to get into your house. That is a big challenge. Beyond title, when you're going to the market, we need to target the investor. So our focus moves from the buyer of the property to the investor in the bond. And so we're trying to look at how we can marry the interests of the buyer who's looking for affordable housing and that of the investor who's looking to maximize their return. So those are the 2 aspects we need to manage. Then we move on to time. Timing is central to being able to go to the market, come out quickly. So approvals from our regulators at a quick time is very important, and it also drives affordability. The market can move against you within a very quick time. And of course, the last T is really one that is critical, is trust. You know, where we lose trust in the instrument we're taking to the market, there is flight. Investors have very short time span, and if we do not engage them and keep them engaged, they'll move. And of course, when we have the bond issued, we need to ensure that trust remains and the people know that we will repay. Of course, the guarantee of the government of Nigeria helps, but we want to be able to stand on our own 2 feet.
And issue your bonds.
We're not doing it alone. And that's probably something I should just state. Okay. We're not doing it alone. We're doing it in partnership. We're seeing the importance of partnership through the states in passing mortgage and foreclosure law to level the playing field and make affordability more a reality. Kaduna State has done so. And there we have said the cap for charges ought to be something in the region of 10% of the property price.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. I think what I hear you say is there are a lot of activities that NMRC is doing beyond even the role as a secondary refinancer. You're also doing a lot of activities in terms of market development. Yes. Okay, please don't go away. If you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 0802-307-6551. I think the numbers are on your screen. You can also go online and go to AIT online, and you can join the conversation from there. So we'll take a break. Please don't go away. We'll be right back.
To decent, affordable housing is so fundamental to the health and well-being of people and the smooth functioning of economies. Countries who have successfully provided housing to their citizens have done so through rigorous research and insightful data analysis. Igbinoba Real Foundation for Housing and Urban Development has continued to champion the cause of residential real estate analytics in Nigeria. The latest of the reports are the Lagos and Abuja housing market reports. Do you want information on the quantity and dimension of the housing deficits in Lagos and Abuja? Or you want to quantify and benchmark the affordable housing demand in both states? What about understanding the supply-side dynamics of the housing market in both cities, or knowing the actual value before you get ripped off in the purchase of that house or apartment? Then, get a copy of the State of Lagos Housing Market and the State of Abuja Housing Market reports. You can order your copy from The Lagos report cost 55,000 naira per copy, while the Abuja report cost 28,500 naira per copy.
Before you make that decision to buy, build, finance, or develop a housing project, why not take a look at the Roland Igbinoba House Price Index, also known as RI Index. The RI Index helps you reflect both the relative cost of production and the relative utilities to purchasers. The index measures changes in single-family home prices across the country. Currently, the index has house price information for Lagos, Kaduna, Rivers, and Abuja, with more cities being planned. You can download the RI Index for free at www.rirfhud.org or www.pisonhousing.com, or send us an email on info@pisonhousing.com. You can call us on 0802-307-6551. The Roland Igbinoba House Price Index, bringing transparency to house prices.
There's a lovely place on my mind. I can't stop thinking about it. It's more than just a house. It's affordable luxury. It's a dream home. I'm not searching no more. I found the one for me, yeah. And it is pure luxury. It is pure luxury. From the one real estate people I can trust. From 1,000 miles, yeah. My brother, see, you love to call it home too. And I just wanna leave here with peace of mind and haven homes. I just wanna leave here, haven home.
consumers' taste evolve and influence new lifestyle trends, there was the need for us to evolve to serve you better. Oil, finish in style.
Access to decent, affordable housing is so fundamental to the health and well-being of people and the smooth functioning of economies. Countries who have successfully provided housing to their citizens have done so through rigorous research and insightful data analysis. Igbinoba Rail Foundation for Housing and Urban Development has continued to champion the cause of residential real estate analytics in Nigeria. The latest of the reports are the Lagos and Abuja housing market reports. Do you want information on the quantity and dimension of the housing deficits in Lagos and Abuja? Or you want to quantify and benchmark the affordable housing demand in both states? What about understanding the supply-side dynamics of the housing market in both cities, or knowing the actual value before you get ripped off in the purchase of that house or apartment? Then, get a copy of the State of Lagos Housing Market and the State of Abuja Housing Market reports. You can order your copy from
Welcome back. Our lines are open. You can reach us on 0807 0519904 or 0802 307 6551. You can join the conversations. In wrapping up this session, I'll just start again from Architect Dangiwa. Now, the outlook for the market. What should ordinary Nigerians expect? What should the civil servants who are contributing to the National Housing Fund expect this year?
Well, thank you very much. The expectations should be that with the roll-up of the program we have now enumerated in my last outing, we have told you that we are collaborating with the NLC, Labour, and the NECA and DUC. Houses will be rolled out, and especially for the low and medium income earners. And those houses must be affordable. That's our target. And if they're affordable, they are there for Nigerian workers. Secondly, we already have over 20,000 houses in over 20 states of the Federation, whereby those houses are there standing for Nigerians who can access these mortgages, for them to go in and then afford the mortgages. The most important thing is that they should know that we don't create the mortgages ourselves. It is the primary mortgage bank that creates the mortgages. They meet them, they create the mortgages for them, and then package them, forward it to us at the secondary mortgage market for us to fund. Yes, we are positioned for that, and we assure Nigerians that things will be better for Nigerians in 2018.
And Madam, please, in wrapping up in 30 seconds.
Okay, the civil servants can be rest assured that the FISH program is investigating more flexible options apart from the mortgage loan possibilities, to include equity contribution and rent-to-own options. Also, civil servants, especially federal civil servants, can also be rest assured that they are not being confined to only FCT. Other state governments have shown have indicated interest, such as Lagos State, Cross River, Kaduna, Bauchi, and Bayelsa states, to mention a few that are interested in providing support services to the FISH program. They've given us land and all that. Yes.
Thank you very much. And Madam, so in wrapping up.
Yes, thank you. In wrapping up, as the implementing agency of the Nigeria Housing Finance Program, what we would like Nigerians out there to know, everybody, is that not only do they have a right to own their own home, the possibility is here right now, more than ever before.
That's encouraging.
With the collective efforts of everybody, the federal government, all the agencies, and the Central Bank of Nigeria, in making finance available and accessible, everybody can own their own home. So Nigerians can get a mortgage, and all they need to do is to go to a mortgage bank or to a commercial bank to get a mortgage. If you don't qualify for a mortgage, maybe you don't have the down payment, they can get a guarantee. when the mortgage guarantee.
Okay, so
exactly.
that hasn't taken off yet.
No,
okay,
but it should take off before the end of this year, hopefully.
Okay.
And then there's also the microfinance, housing microfinance, okay, which is eligible
incremental builds for the low income people.
So everybody can own their own homes.
Okay, great. And Prof, you have the final word for this panel.
Yeah, as I said earlier, we're ramping up our refinancing activity. We've already gone to the market, and we'll be using the proceeds to increase refinancing. Of course, we're launching the mobile app for our groundbreaking housing market system, which is a digital technology innovation that really consolidates our silos of markets into an integrated housing market, to allowing Nigerians to be able to access information about properties in various locations, about brokers, about developers, and of course about financiers, all through the housing market system, which composes of two parts. One part is the engine itself, the mortgage market system. The other part is the depository of information, which is the housing market information portal. Those two together form the system, and that allows us to drive a national housing market.
Thank you very much, Prof. And I want to thank the entire panel for this session. I think what we hear is that there's a lot of government activities in terms of the market. Please don't go away. We have another session where we're going to have private sector players who will again dimension the market, and based on what we have heard from all of the panelists who represent government in one way or the other. So please don't touch that dial, and we'll be right back.
Consumers' tastes evolve and influence new lifestyle trends. There was the need for us to evolve to serve you better. Oil, finish in style.
Housing is so fundamental to the health and well-being of people and the smooth functioning of economies. Countries who have successfully provided housing to their citizens have done so through rigorous research and insightful data analysis. Igbinoba Rail Foundation for Housing and Urban Development has continued to champion the cause of residential real estate analytics in Nigeria. The latest of the reports are the Lagos and Abuja housing market reports. Do you want information on the quantity and dimension of the housing deficits in Lagos and Abuja? Or you want to quantify and benchmark the affordable housing demand in both states? What about understanding the supply-side dynamics of the housing market in both cities, or knowing the actual value before you get ripped off in the purchase of that house or apartment? Then get a copy of the State of Lagos Housing Market and the State of Abuja Housing Market reports. You can order your copy from
thinking about it. It's more than just a house. It's affordable luxury. It's a dream home. I'm not searching no more. I found the one for me, yeah. And it is pure luxury. It is pure luxury. From the one real estate people I can trust. From 1,000 miles, yeah. My brother, see, you love to call it home too. And I just wanna leave here with peace of mind and haven homes. I just wanna leave here, haven homes.
consumers' taste evolve and influence new lifestyle trends, there was the need for us to evolve to serve you better. Oil. Finish in style.
Why not take a look at the Roland Igbinopa House Price Index, also known as RI Index? The RI Index helps you reflect both the relative cost of production and the relative utilities to purchasers. The index measures changes in single-family home prices across the country. Currently, the index has house price information for Lagos, Kaduna, Rivers, and Abuja, with more cities being planned. You can download the RI Index for free at www.rirfhud.org or www.pisonhousing.com, or send us an email on info@pisonhousing.com. You can call us on 0802-307-6551. The Roland Igbinopa House Price Index, bringing transparency to house prices.
Thank you very much for staying with us on the state of the Nigerian housing market. In this session, we have private sector players who will look at the market and dimension it in terms of all that we have heard in the earlier session. Now, before I go, I have a question here from one Martin Grabler. He says, how will central banks support how will the central bank support mortgage banks in case of guarantees for external and foreign investors? And then when will the construction sites begin? Unfortunately, the director of the CBN has left, but we'll be sure to pass this onward to her. So we'll jump into the session. I have on my extreme left, Mr. Niyi Akinlusi, the president of the Mortgage Banking Association of Nigeria, and also the managing director and chief executive officer for Trust Bond. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Okay, and I have to my immediate left, Mr. Tayo Odusi, the CEO for Northcote.
Thank you for having me.
And on my immediate right, I have Mr. Dolapo Oni. Dolapo is the vice president for energy research at EcoBank.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm going to start with you, Dolapo. Again, there's a heightened excitement about the market in terms of, I mean, Nigeria is a mono economy, and right now our reserves are, going up as a result of. Would it be diversification? You need to let us know. And how does this impact the man on the street? Does it mean because the reserves are growing that the average man on the street will be able to afford a house?
Thank you very much. Nigeria is a country that depends on oil for a lot of reasons, a lot of things. Government budgets, government's ability to actually carry out capital infrastructure investments depends on our ability to actually sell more oil or get more revenue from oil. So we're actually benefiting that right now because, number one, we have higher oil production, 2.1 million barrels per day, and we're actually selling at higher prices as well. And the outlook is generally positive. Over the next 3 to 5 years, we've taken a bit of a medium-term view, and we think oil prices will remain on the upward swing. Now, if we avoid troubles in the Niger Delta, we'll have more revenue, which means that Nigerian government can actually spend more on its capital budgets, which is where building comes in, which is where housing projects come in, which is where I was listening to the director of the Federal Mortgage Bank, and he was talking about various projects that they are trying to do as well. Now, the government's ability to fund that will also derive from being able to get more money from oil, and I think we're going to get that. So it's a good. But
sorry, Doc, but let me stop you at this point. I mean, it's almost, I'm saying. So if there's no oil, what happens?
Basically, that's where the problem is. So we haven't done enough to move away from oil. Sadly, we should do a lot more than we have. We should look at other viable sectors that we can actually invest in and grow output from that sector to the point where it can compete with oil. We haven't done that yet, but we're seeing some positivity from agriculture. Okay. We're starting to export various things out of Nigeria, which we were not exporting before. And then we look at other softer sectors like entertainment, look at sports, various areas where we actually have some development coming up, which is actually helping. This is one key sector that could actually also be fantastic for Nigeria, the real estate sector. Then policy will be required, investments will be required. But again, I think oil is still going to drive all that because oil will be the biggest revenue source.
That's scary. That's scary, really. And I'll move to Tayo. Now, You also do a lot of real estate advisory, right?
Absolutely.
And Tayo, this is a pre-election year.
Yeah.
Okay? So I have a concern personally. Will the government, I mean, just like you alluded to, government is doing a lot in terms of trying to diversify the economy.
Yeah.
But this is 2018. Elections are in sometime around March of, around February, March of next year, right? Yeah. Will there be a bias towards the political mandate rather than continue the diversification program that is happening in the country? Because at the end of the day, this affects housing. So what is your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, first, very, very, very good points that you raised. The diversification program, interestingly, was quite, it got some mileage last year. We saw that the Purchasing Managers Index, which tracks how manufacturing sector of any economy is performing, rose to 59.3% last year, which was very, very good. A lot of industrial activity taking place. Well, like you said, in a pre-election year, would that diversification drive continue? I think that it will continue because if the ruling party seeks to retain its position, they want to inject a lot of capital votes to demonstrate a lot of activity. But even in the event that a lot of government spending is actually used for more politicized, this will still have a lot of trickle-down effect into the hands of consumers, thereby allowing them more money, more finance to be able to spend on housing. So net on net, our projection is that there will be quite a lot of capital and spending when it comes to housing. Conversation you just had with Dolak was showing that there's a lot of upward swing in terms of income for the government and even for the private sector off the back of increased oil production and pricing. So that just alludes to a strengthening demand for a lot of things: entertainment, clothes, and housing inclusive. The challenge is something that is something that has become a recurring theme in the last 24 months. The situation, the discussion on affordability. Yeah. There's a lot of demand for housing. The question is that demand effective? Can people afford the type of houses that are currently being built? And so this has to do with this is a policy issue. It has a lot to do with technology. It has a lot to do with financing, and it has a lot to do even with just basic rudimentary construction techniques. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Tayo. And this brings me to Nii. You wear two hats. You're the president of the Mortgage Banking Association of Nigeria. You're also the CEO of Trustbond Mortgage. Now, my worries, Nii, there was a lot of speak, and also we can see signs of execution on policymakers. We heard from the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, we heard from the head of service, we heard from the CBN. Now, you are like the executor. So, I need to know what the experience is. Is this a reality? Okay? Will people own more houses this year? Are you willing, and are your banks willing to provide mortgages for Nigerians?
Oh, certainly. In fact, we in the industry were excited, particularly this year, because there have been quite a number of game changers in the market in terms of affordability, in terms of access to funding. One, when you talk about affordability, there are two sides to it, of a coin. You have the supply side, which of course you talked about earlier about the cost of houses, and you also have the demand side. Demand side, one major factor is the issue of interest rate cost. We know right now people can still access mortgages through Federal Mortgage Bank at 6%. That goes a long way to people who give access and address the issue of affordability. We also know now that in the market, as we speak, people are not able to access mortgages because sometimes they don't have the down payment. And that comes to talk about the issue of mortgage guarantee, which the director mentioned earlier, which means if you don't have the down payment, which is the equity contribution, you can, through the mortgage banks, what we call collateral replacement indemnity, you can get an insurance for that balance and you can access your mortgage. That's number two. We're also aware that through the involvement of the mortgage banks and of course other stakeholders, there is an arrangement where you can access your RSA. What do I mean by this? Retirement savings account, at least a portion of that to back as your down payment as well. All these are towards addressing the issue of affordability and people can access mortgages. That's a major one. And more importantly, just about 2 weeks ago, we have the uniform mortgage underwriting standards for the informal sector and self-employed, it is very key. It is a major development because the Nigerian economy, 58 to 60% of the economy is by this informal sector, that is the GDP. And these people, either to now, have been outside the housing market and the mortgage market. So this will bring them into the market, and there'll be a lot of things that are going to be happening.
Okay, thank you very much, Nia. I mean, I'm very happy for that optimism and excitement. And I'll just quickly take a word from you, Dolapo. In wrapping up, in just a word or two, where do you think 2018 is going in terms of housing?
Okay, thank you very much. And I think when you think about the fact that if you dimension the market, especially the commercial market, the oil and gas companies play a very key role when it comes to some of the grade A buildings that we've seen. Think about, I mean, just looking at the Lagos market alone, for instance, the provision of grade A infrastructure into that market has been oil and gas companies, really, Nest Oil, Total, and so on. Think about it. So I think the fact that there's a positive outlook for oil generally means that government can fund more projects. These companies would also invest in commercial projects. And then having more money in the hands of the market will mean private guys can also do the same.
Okay, thank you. And Tayo, I mean, it's just a final word.
Okay, in 2018, you've talked about being a pre-election year. We talked about activities in terms of housing finance. One new trend that we see is developers becoming more savvy in terms of the quality and the type of developments that they are offering, considering pricing and space, as blending pricing and space in order to be able to attract more buyers and offer their property at more reasonable rates for the market.
All right, thank you very much for joining us on this program. It's a pity an hour is already gone. But be rest assured that hopefully I'm going to get this team together again, and maybe next quarter we should be able to look at where the housing market is going and then appraise some of the conversations that we have had here today. Sure. So I want to thank you very much, and I also want to thank our sponsors for making this happen, from the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria to Royal Ceramics, who has also provided some form of gift for all our panelists, so you're going to see yourself embossed in wall tiles. To also Haven Homes, who have always been very supportive. Thank you very much. Until we see you again in April.
Affordable housing is so fundamental to the health and well-being of people and the smooth functioning of economies. Countries who have successfully provided housing to their citizens have done so through rigorous research and insightful data analysis. Igbinoba Rail Foundation for Housing and Urban Development has continued to champion the cause of residential real estate analytics in Nigeria. The latest of the reports are the Lagos and Abuja housing market reports. Do you want information on the quantity and dimension of the housing deficits in Lagos and Abuja? Or you want to quantify and benchmark the affordable housing demand in both states? What about understanding the supply-side dynamics of the housing market in both cities, or knowing the actual value before you get ripped off in the purchase of that house or apartment? Then, get a copy of the State of Lagos Housing Market and the State of Abuja Housing Market reports. You can order your copy from